Oh, so actually, I know it says Lara Croft, but I'm not going to do this right now because this is part two. Part two of my newest favorite series. It's called How to Be Prejudiced. Oh man. So last time I left off with some, let's call him a person because I'm not going to debase people. Some person saying that um, being gay is the same as being a pedophile. That was his argument, not mine. So don't put that on me. I don't believe that, but this man certainly does. And then he says that I'm using ad hominems and calling him names, and that I'm using straw man. So now I don't even know what to do anymore. I invited him to a party chat so I could talk to him. Hopefully I can put it online, but he isn't he isn't gonna join. Let's face it. This guy is a cunt. There's no other word for it. This is a bigot. And you're gonna see what I mean. It's ridiculous. This person is just mm. uh, so this person, let's see. Last I left off, I wrote, let's see. Yeah, he said that I was strawmanning him. He wrote that, I'm trying to scroll down. Okay, he wrote also consensual, so with that logic, it's okay for a 90-year-old to have sex with a 10-year-old. Consensually, of course. That's what he wrote. And then to that I responded, rather than repeating myself ad nauseum, I posted already. 9-year-old lacks the ability to consent. Oh, I almost said his name. Well, that's only half the name, so I guess I can say that because it's not the full username. You can't actually find him with just this, so. Yeah. Ability to consent, Atlas. It's disturbing to think otherwise. Pedophilia is bad, Atlas. You agree, yes? At no point has he ever said pedophilia is bad, by the way, in all this. One of the reasons that I wrote 9-year-old is because the Prophet Muhammad was said to marry, what was her age when they were fiancé? I think it was like 6 or 7, and then consummated the marriage when she was 9. So that's why I wrote 9-year-old instead of the 10-year-old that he wrote. But he's saying instead, consent literally means giving permission or agreeing for something to happen. I said 10, not 9. Don't strawman me. And then I wrote, I didn't do, say, or imply that, Atlas. What's the point of telling me something I never said nor believe? And then I wrote, this isn't a straw man, Atlas. And then I posted the image of what a straw man is, which is misrepresenting someone's argument to make it easier to attack. And I guess in me saying instead of 10 years old and I put 9 years old, that I was making it easier to attack him, I guess. I don't know. But pedophilia is a sexual orientation, just like homosexuality, no? And there aren't any bad sexual orientations, right? Those are the words he was writing. And then I wrote, I ask about Islamic totalitarianism policy of executing gays, and you turn the conversation into sex with a minor. No. Pedophilia is not a sexual orientation, Atlas. And then he says, according to Harvard, it is. And there's that word again, totalitarianism. A dictionary will be a good read. And because I'm a petty cunt, I posted the image from Britannica.com/topic/totalitarianism, totalitarianism form of government that theoretically permits no individual freedom and that seeks to subordinate all aspects of individual life to the authority of the state. And I also posted, just in case, because I gotta get ahead of these assholes, authoritarianism, principle of blind submission to authority as opposed to individual freedom of thought and action. In governments, Authoritarianism denotes any political system that concentrates power in the hands of a leader or a small elite that is not constitutionally responsible to the body of the people. Authoritarian leaders often exercise power arbitrarily and without regard to existing bodies of law, and they usually cannot be replaced by citizens choosing freely among various competitors in elections. Pretty much that's what every single. Oh, that was also from Britannica's, of course. Britannica.com/topic/authoritarianism. Moving on to the next one, and then I also wrote down the definition for paraphilia, a condition characterized by abnormal sex desires, typically involving extreme or dangerous activities. So it is considered a sexual orientation. It is a paraphilia, an abnormal sexual orientation. It is not a normal sexual orientation like heterosexual, bisexual, or homosexual. Those are normal sexual orientations. What else is a paraphilia, you may ask? Zoophilia, where you want to fuck animals. That's also abnormal. That's not right. The other one that is abnormal is necrophilia, wanting to have sex with a dead body. That's not right. I could go into why those aren't right, but it's essentially just consent. It's respecting another living being, or in the case of necrophilia, dead body, because that person was living, and there's respect for that too. We hold as a society a respect for dead bodies that I'm not going to say shouldn't be there, because I think it should be there, but it's merited only through culture. Let's see. Areas under ISIS's control have authoritarian rulership. It is a totalitarian regime based on their interpretation of the Quran. There, people are executed for consensual sex between two adults. Pedophilia is a paraphilia. A child lacks the ability to consent. Whether 5 or 15, it is immoral to fuck someone who cannot give consent. Do we agree a child lacks ability to give proper consent? That's the question I posed for him. At no point did he answer this question. Someone else had to intervene. Mind you, this person, Jack, is a complete asshole. He literally posts after me and insults me time after time. That's how we met. I asked him something about a video game, and this guy comes back at me telling me that, no, I'm just stupid because I didn't spend money on the game, and that's why I lost. And I'm like, I don't want to spend money. Anyway, that's beside the point. But this guy who's supposed to hate me is on my side, and he says, are you serious? What the fuck is wrong with you? Suk is absolutely right. Pedophiles belong in prison. And he posted the image of what he wrote. But pedophilia is a sexual orientation just like homosexuality, no? And there aren't any bad sexual orientations, right? So, he wrote that question. Obviously, he's being facetious. He's being an asshole. But he's still trying to present that homosexuality is on the same level as pedophilia. That's his whole goal and intent. And I'm not letting him do that shit. He's an asshole. So the person, Jack, wrote, are you serious? What the fuck is wrong with you? Suki's absolutely right. Pedophiles belong in prison. Homosexuality is an orientation. Pedophilia is a perversion. And then the person, Wild, responded back, Jack, I posed a sarcastic response. What the fuck, XD? Again, pedophilia is registered as a sexual orientation. So is zoophilia. And then Jack responded, oh, well, I can't always detect sarcasm through text, as long as you know that. And then the person wrote back, Wild, or person Atlas wrote back, also, I didn't know we jumped to ISIS all of a sudden. Yeah, of course, my bad. I thought I came across as sarcastic. And then the person wrote, registered where? What's next? Necrophilia? And then Atlas responded, Jack, I don't understand what you're saying, XD. Oh, like I said, according to mainly Harvard, it is a sexual orientation. And again, age is a social construct. A 15-year-old can definitely give proper consent. If we're going according to modern law, the age of consent is 16. Just because your liberal mind can't comprehend it doesn't mean it's wrong. Oh, and that's another thing. You'll find that people who are fundamentalists in any religion are going to say the same things. It's all bigotry, it's all tribalism, so they will literally repeat the same bullshit. This person is using keywords that he's heard in the media, like liberal. He's going to say stuff, false equivalences. He's going to literally strawman me over and over again, and you'll hear it, and I'll try and point it out when I can. But this is fantastic. This is an ad hominem if I've ever seen one. Your liberal mind can't comprehend it doesn't mean it's wrong. He's saying that because I have a liberal mind, I can't comprehend it. So he's trying to lay the foundation for don't trust anything I say because I don't understand what I'm talking about. Even though I haven't said specifically anything, I've been asking him questions that he refuses to answer. Things like, is pedophilia bad? And then he doesn't answer. He just says, it's a sexual orientation. I was like, okay, but is it bad? And then he says, stop strawmanning me and stuff like that. It's horrible. It's horrible. This is how religion perverts minds. When someone goes fully fundamentalist in one of these religions that's based on these tribalistic notions, in this is what you get. Someone else posted, I think this issue isn't solved for some, and that is ISIS are not Muslims. It is the first. So apparently this person doesn't think that ISIS are Muslims. So then I write, not all Muslims agree on some interpretation of the Quran, just as there's Christians who don't agree with some interpretations of the Bible. I didn't write all Muslims. I'm asking specifically about executing people based on sexual orientation in Islamic controlled regions. ISIS is just one example, as their region is shown in the original post, because the original post I posted is specifically about an ISIS controlled region where crowds gathered and they executed a gay person. They cheered it on. And I'm asking about that. Why is this okay? So the other person is just saying, oh, why are you bringing up ISIS all of a sudden? It's like, well, it shows that you don't know anything about what I'm talking about. And then after I even point out, did you watch the video? Did you even care to look into this? Do you know that this is happening? He just completely ignores everything to push on his own agenda. So I wrote down, after reading your message again, are you saying the people cheering on the executions aren't Muslim? Because now that's a new thing. If there aren't real Muslims because they're cheering on an execution, no. This person is according to the religion, he's sinful and he's trying to spread his sin to other people, and he must be executed. That's under Sharia law. And then they're executing him based on Sharia law. And now they're saying that no, those aren't Muslims, even though they're practicing what the Hadith and the Quran both tell them to do. They say, go kill the gays. The Bible says go kill the gays too, but not many people do that. Places where they do that, it's because they're under Christian rule. They have blasphemy laws. If you have a blasphemy law, you're pretty much under a religious rule. You're not allowed to say something. That's failure to give freedom to the people. Well, authoritarian regimes do that constantly. It's impossible to find or point to one authoritarian regime that does not have some sort of blasphemy law, either against the dear leader or against the gods that they worship. It's impossible. You won't find it, because that's how they maintain control, by making sure that you can't talk about it. So here, I'm forcing them to talk about it. And then the person writes, pedophilia is a sexual orientation whether you like it or not, whether you want it to be or not. As for your comments on interpretation, those so-called Muslims haven't read enough of the Quran. And then someone else wrote in, just love one another, and then a winky face. But it's like, that's the whole problem. These people won't let them love. This is my interpretation. I didn't write that. So the person Atlas writes in, interpret it, XD. You come off as saying if you interpret it another way, you could become a serial killer or blah, blah, blah. So this is called a straw man. I wrote down that not all Muslims agree on some interpretation of the Quran, just as there's some Christians who don't agree with some interpretations of the Bible. In other words, there is no canon for Islam, because if there were, the moderate Islamists who are saying the Quran says you shouldn't be killing people, that God is the one who punishes. But then you have the people who are extremists, who are fundamentalists, who read the Quran and are literally quoting it, saying, no, it says here that I'm the one who has to do it. I have to act. That's what Sharia law is. So they're following Sharia law. Much like in Africa, there's places over there, I believe his name was Coney, where they practice Levitical law, where it's almost identical. Not exactly, but there's subtle differences. But one of the main things that I'm calling identical is the treatment towards homosexuality. If you look at other places, like in Jamaica, they have a very strong Christian area there. You cannot be gay. If you hold hands, they will throw rocks at you. Like you can't. So I wrote down that some people interpret it one way and other people interpret it another way. The ones who interpret it one way kill the gays. And then he's saying, you come off as saying if you interpret it another way, you could become a serial killer, or and then the foreword and the word that he wrote is bleeped out, so I can't tell what it says, but I'm going to assume it says pedophile or something, or I don't know, a rapist. And the fact is, well, yeah, if you read something and interpret it in the way that it was meant to be interpreted, you could go around killing all the gays that you see, turning you into a serial killer who is prejudiced against gays. So that's 100% true. He's trying to strawman me and accidentally just agreed with me. Like I don't even understand. If you interpret something the wrong way than the way that someone intended it, and someone says, "Hey, give me some French fries," and that person interprets, "Oh, French fries, go murder all the children." That Well, yeah, if they interpret it that way. And that's the thing. The people who don't practice the Quran, the people who don't practice what the Bible says, they are interpreting it their own way, and they are choosing not to obey what it says. It specifically says in there you have to stone gays in the Bible. People are choosing to interpret it in their way and saying, no, 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 no. Later on it says, love everyone, therefore I can't stone them because I have to love them. That's the type of mindset that I'm working with here. A person who doesn't understand nuance, even slightly, who just gets offended at everything. That's why I love this. This is fantastic. This is a great eye opener for me. He keeps going on. Bottom line, these so-called Muslim countries don't practice actual Islamic law. No country does. If you consider the oil puppets who were planted in power by the West as representative on Islam, then that's what you're not getting. There is no punishment for homosexual acts in the Quran. According to Western statistics, they barely know anything. Ha 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 ha. And then I wrote, Atlas, it doesn't matter what I write, you take it personal. What is the punishment for homosexuality in the Quran? Isn't ISIS obeying it? The punishment. What have members of ISIS read that you say is incorrect regarding the punishment for homosexuality? Here I'm actually trying to draw specific distinction between what he's saying and reality. Where he's saying, oh, those people who are out executing the gays, they're interpreting the Quran the wrong way. They're not real Muslims. No true Scotsman fallacy. And then I'm saying, okay, so what is it that they're reading? What is it that they aren't reading that makes them go, I shouldn't be killing the gays? What is it that you aren't reading that makes you go, I shouldn't kill the gays? Sorry, I said that wrong. What is it that they're reading that makes them go, we should kill gays? What is it that you're reading that makes you go, you shouldn't kill gays? Because that's different interpretation. Anyway, he says that's what you're not getting. There is no punishment for homosexual acts in the Quran. Pay very close attention to the garbage this person just spouted. That's what you're not getting. There is no punishment for homosexual acts in the Quran. According to Western statistics, they barely know anything, XD. And then I responded, why haven't the members of ISIS read that allows you to be homosexual without repercussions? Because that's what he's saying. He's saying there are no repercussions for being homosexual, so what is it that ISIS haven't read? And then he wrote, you can be what? Oh, you deleted because I had deleted something, but then I rewrote it again, and it says, using the Quran, if two Muslim men peg each other, are there repercussions? According to him, there are no repercussions if two men peg each other, so that's why I'm asking him. Using the Quran, if two Muslim men peg each other, are there repercussions? According to ISIS, fling the fag off a roof or stone him. You're saying they're not obeying the Quran? And then he responds, because homosexual acts fall under fahisha, the same category that adulteration and, I don't know what that word is, it's bleeped out, are in, you are cursed by God until you ask for forgiveness. And then I wrote, that looks like punishment to me. Why lie saying no punishment? And then he says, no flinging fags off of roofs or stoning, it is not in the Quran. And I'm going to say, stone the gays. I don't know if that's in the Quran. I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure that's in a hadith though. In the hadith, it specifically says stone the gays. I know that for certain. I don't know if it says it in the Quran. That's just on me. And then he keeps going, that's not a punishment, XD. And then I wrote, I don't have to ask forgiveness for fucking a woman, but I do if I fuck a man. Seems convoluted. And then he says, no, you do. You have to ask forgiveness if you fuck a woman. And then he explains, no, you do. If it is adulteration or, and then fornication, you have to as well. Like I stated in my previous post, it all falls under fahisha, which is haram. And then I wrote, according to Quran, the main reason Sodom was destroyed was because of all the butt fucking. In the hadith, it says, kill the one who... Oh, kill the one who sodomizes and the one who lets it be done to him. And then I wrote down that it's Tirmidhi Sahih. And that's an authentic hadith. And then he says, so now you're switching to hadith? Just like you're switching to hadith. It's like apparently I didn't know that I wasn't allowed to mention the hadith, but hey, now you're switching to hadith. It's like, sure, I'm switching to hadith. Also, why are you using crude words? Oh, butt fucking is a crude word apparently. He doesn't like butt fucking, which is why I'm using those terms. I'm using those crude terms to make it obvious that there is no liberal agenda, there is no nonsense over here. I'm not trying to coddle everyone by giving them a safe space. No bullshit. I don't do that shit. And then I wrote back, are gays allowed to marry each other under Islam? No. So sodomy between two adult males isn't allowed because they can't marry, so it's fornication. If it's fornication, then it's against God. You restricted the one way that they would be able to have sex. It's the same way as saying that two straight people can't have sex because there is no such thing as marriage. We are not putting marriage in the books so that two straight people can't. All right, let me put it this way. If all of a sudden we made it so that only gay people could marry, then that would mean that any couple who has sex is now fornicating because they didn't get married, and that's a piece of paper determines whether or not God is upset with you. That's literally what he's saying. Like I said, there is none in the Quran. If you want to talk hadith, we can talk hadith. And then I wrote, I didn't switch to the hadith. I mentioned both Quran and an authentic hadith because, if you remember carefully, I wrote, according to Quran, the main reason Sodom was destroyed was because of all the butt fucking. That's literally in the Quran. According to them, before Sodom, no one ever stuck it up the ass. No one, not a single person. But once Sodom was made, oh man, that's when it all started. Once the butt fucking started, that's when the end of civilization started, and then we had to go in there and slaughter them all because of all the butt fucking. Oh, but he's not prejudiced. Not prejudiced at all. And then someone wrote back, I can explain in private message because this issue must have chastity, agree? Which I did private message that person, and I can go through that later, but it's his essential gripe is having sex with a man is a sin. And then I ask, well, what makes it a sin? And he says, because God doesn't like it. Because it doesn't allow for there's no purpose in it. What good comes from butt fucking was his response. And then I gave some pretty good responses, which I'll talk to later. And then I wrote, does Quran allow men to marry men? And then to him, to the guy who wrote that message to me, I wrote, you seem kind, I don't mind. Someone help Atlas before he blasphemes just to contradict me. To which he says, blaspheme claims now? XDD. And it's like, I never said you blasphemed. I said that before you blaspheme yourself. And then he writes, no, you see, we're specifically talking Quran. Now you bring up hadith. Like I said, it is fahisha, which is fornication. And then I wrote, it literally says before he blasphemes. You should read messages before responding. Why is homosexuality a sin in Islam? This question is ignored. And then he says, you know you won't get your way by debating me, so you turn to someone you feel you can manipulate to get the answers you want. And then I wrote, yep, you won the debate, Atlas. Now let the adults talk. So I moved away and I stopped talking to him for a while. And then someone else wrote back to him, who cares what it says anyways, fuck the Quran. That was Jack who wrote that. Like I said, this guy follows me around and he's an asshole. So um, he's not interested in having a conversation with them and having them think. He just wants to tell them fuck you, because that's how society works, right? If someone doesn't agree with you, tell them fuck you and then move on to the person who does agree with you. That's how it works. So that person who you just told fuck you to now feels more strongly in their beliefs because you told them to go fuck off. They feel persecuted because that's the type of society we live in. You cannot go telling someone to go fuck off because that person will do that. They'll move on and then they'll go fuck you later on. How will they fuck you? They'll tell someone else something about you and then they'll say, he told me to go fuck off. And that's true, you did. So guess what? That person who comes up to you, he's going to be prejudiced against you because you told the other guy to go fuck off. And he thinks that you're going to tell him the same thing. So now you have to be extra nice to this new person because you don't want him to think that you're an asshole. That's the type of poison that this line is. It's called poisoning the well. You know you won't get your way by debating me, so now you turn to someone you feel you can manipulate to get the answers you want. XD, XD. So it's pretending to know what someone else is thinking and then saying it as a fact, saying it as confidently as you can, so that way that person is now debased. That's the idea. So as soon as he did that, I said, yeah, you won. Okay, bye. He didn't want to leave. He wanted to keep going. And he said, you're talking to yourself at this point, dude. And I was just like, yeah, I gotta agree. You are talking to yourself. Now he's going to do a lot of projecting. So give me a moment. Okay, so he writes, you're talking to yourself a lot. You're talking to yourself at this point, my dude. My aim is not to win an online debate. It is to defend my religion from Islamophobic individuals and answer sincere questions. Your questions haven't seemed sincere so far, just accusations. Now you've resorted to insults. You're obviously being disingenuous with your questions and have been skipping from this to that for almost a day now. Unless you have the pluck to reveal your actual intentions, get out of my face. This was all written. He wrote the first message at 6:35. You're talking to yourself at this point, dude. My aim is not to win an online debate. It is to defend my religion from Islamophobic individuals and sincere questions. 6:35. Then at 6:43, he writes, unless you have the pluck to reveal your actual intentions, get out of my face. And then someone writes, who cares what it says anyway? Fuck the Quran. I responded to that. The people who practice a religion care. And people who practice it. And because people who practice it care, I care. Oh, sorry. And because people practice it, I care. That's why I'm here asking why people who practice it think homosexuality is a sin. To which Atlas responds, thanks for the respect, Jack. Obviously sarcasm because Jack just said fuck the Quran. And then Atlas continues, in Islam we don't have the concept of heterosexual or homosexual as identities. We believe our identity is Muslim. So we don't say I'm a straight Muslim or gay Muslim, just like we don't say I'm a white Muslim or a black Muslim. Also, the feeling or desire towards the same sex is not a sin. Like one of the many sayings of the Prophet states that you can't control the heart. The action of same-sex intercourse, penetrating another man, is when it becomes a sin. Oh, something happened to my PS voice. Okay, something happened to my voice. That was weird. It wouldn't let me, I don't know if it was, a message popped up saying that something happened to my voice chat. Oh man, this is getting way too long. This is like the last video. I'm trying to get to the point of this, to the meat of it, and it's just, oh, it's just so disgusting. This person's still rambling, by the way. Is still ranting about it, and he doesn't answer any of the questions. I'm just gonna skip forward. It turned into a conversation about condoms. Let's see, where's this at? Oh, okay, it's not that far off now. Um, Also, the feeling or desire towards the same sex is not a sin. Like one of the many sayings of the Prophet states that you can't control the heart. The action of same-sex intercourse, penetrating another man, is when it becomes a sin. Now, with that out of the way, the Quran is very clear that one of the many sins a Muslim should not commit is that of engaging in in sexual relations outside of marriage, and our religion has forbidden extramarital and premarital intercourse. Then how can anyone believe that same-sex intercourse is something ethical and moral in the eyes of our Creator if even premarital intercourse is considered to be something that is immoral and worthy of sin? Then surely engaging in same-sex relations is similar, if not a worse crime in the eyes of the Creator. And the story of Lot, AS, is also very clear in the Quran. There is no question the people of Sodom were guilty of multiple crimes, but their main or predominant crime that is associated with them multiple times is same-sex relations. If a person feels inclinations towards the same sex, he is not allowed to act upon what is not permissible for him. Just like a kleptomaniac is not allowed to steal things and pyromaniac is not allowed to burn things. Just like me, someone who feels attracted to the opposite sex is not allowed to flirt or engage in intercourse with or even stare at a woman who is not my wife. That is the Islamic perspective. And then I wrote all that he wrote. Okay. If you allow two men or two women to marry each other, you'd still call it a sin. So everything he just wrote is just complete utter nonsense. So, since he's just going to give up talking about this and bring up a straw man, so I'm going to go ahead and address a straw man. Is it okay to execute people for love you won't allow? When did God tell you gays can't marry? You believe gays can't marry each other because you compare property theft and pedophilia with consensual sex between two adults. Please explain who is getting harmed by getting pegged in the ass. In theft, a person you stole from is harmed. In pedophilia, the child is harmed. Who is harmed in a married couple's consensual sodomy? I was very specific here. Who is harmed in a married couple's consensual sodomy? So then he writes, there are legit studies stating that homosexuals are at higher risk of contracting STDs, lol, and if homosexual behavior and same-sex intercourse is forbidden, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. Same-sex marriage is prohibited as well. See, I asked him, why can't they get married? And he says, because it's prohibited. He continues on, and so both individuals are at risk by practicing same-sex intercourse health-wise, but homosexuality is more harmful and detrimental to society as a whole. Again, he's just making a claim, zero basis. He's just saying homosexuality is more harmful and detrimental to society as a whole, period. And that's it. He doesn't say because, why, nothing like that. He keeps going on. Anal sex is also prohibited in Islam, so even married heterosexuals can't practice anal sex. Married heterosexuals can't practice anal, like, the I don't know if this person can even comprehend two men marrying each other. I don't think this person even understands what that question is. It's like, are you understanding that a man can be attracted to another man? No. It's a choice. Oh, by the way, that's what the other guy said. The other guy that I was talking to said that it's a choice to be homosexual. To which I asked him, is it your choice to be heterosexual? It's not a choice for you to like women. It's not a choice for the man to like another man. It's not a choice. As he would put it, it's a sexual orientation. Not an abnormal sexual orientation, a normal one, healthy one. So then he keeps going on. Anal sex is also prohibited in Islam, so even married heterosexuals can't practice anal sex. So even married heterosexuals can't practice anal sex. Do you expect it to be allowed for... I'm going to assume it says homosexuals, but it's bleeped out, so I'm just going to say... do you expect it to be, because he's an asshole and a bigot, so I'm just going to replace the word now. Do you expect it to be allowed for faggots? Again, you are asking Islam through a liberal lens. You're attacking Islam through liberal... I'm attacking Islam, by the way. Of course, nothing makes sense to you, and it never will if you keep applying liberal values to Islamic Jewry prejudice, because they are two different ideologies. When you say consensual sex between adults, you are trying to make homosexual activity more innocent than it is. Wink wink. Because that's what he was doing by saying pedophilia was a sexual orientation. He was trying to make either pedophilia seem uh, more innocent than it is, or he was trying to make homosexual acts more perverse than they are. One or the other. This is just him admitting it right here. If you talk long enough to an asshole, he's gonna show you his butthole. He's gonna show you his shit. When you say consensual sex between adults, you are trying to make homosexual activity more innocent than it is. Consensual sex also applies to married heterosexual couples. You have to be more specific. As for the punishment of homosexuals in a Sharia legal system, there is no difference in punishment between a gay adulterer and a straight adulterer. They are both executed. If they are unmarried, they are flogged. But you also have to realize it is not just get in the car, you're gonna be executed. You can't just execute someone because of rumors. There has to be witnesses for the crime, and there has to be proper procedure in a court of law. And according to Islam, no ordinary Joe can execute someone, XD. Also, you have to take into account how many times such things occurred in history, and they seldom did. So, to all of that he wrote, this is what I wrote down. Why is anal sex and gay marriage prohibited? And then I also wrote, what study says if you engage in homosexuality, you're more likely to get an STD? You're just saying homosexuality is harmful and prohibited. You give zero reasoning other than because it is. Do you have any actual reason for why two gays can't marry? And then he writes, what a straw man! 2 exclamation points XD. This is ad nauseum at this point, XD. And then I wrote down, stop getting offended, Snowflake, you're melting. It isn't a straw man, address the question or I'll just ignore you again. And then I posted the photo of a straw man again, which, in case you forgot, I love reading it out loud. It's got Plato, Socrates, Aristotle on it. Thou shalt not commit logical fallacies. This is from the website, your logical fallacy is /straw man. And this one says, misrepresenting someone's argument to make it easier to attack. I asked him questions. This isn't an attack. Why is anal sex and gay marriage prohibited? That's not an attack. What study says if you engage in homosexuality, you're more likely to get an STD? That's not a straw man. That's asking a question about what he wrote. And then the other one is, do you have any actual reason for why two gays can't marry? Again, this is a question. He thinks that questions are straw man arguments, which means that he doesn't know what a straw man argument is. He's just saying, or he does know, and he's just writing straw man. He's saying this is ad nauseum at this point, nauseum, because I wrote that earlier, that I had responded to something ad nauseum. And then he says, according to a recent study by the CDC, STDs have been rising amongst gay and bisexual men, with increases in syphilis been seen across the country. In 2014, gay, bisexual, and other men who have sex, ... So I looked up that actual study and read straight from it. It was, oh my gosh, I'm so glad he actually took the challenge to bring up a study, because that just gave me so much fuel. Oh man, that study that he was citing. I'm just getting a drink of water. I'm talking too much. I'm not used to talking this much. Much more quiet. My lips are dry. Alright. I wrote, why is it prohibited? I wrote in quotes, why is it prohibited? And then I ended the quotes. Is called a question. Why is it prohibited? Is called a question. You can't give a reason beyond I believe, so you avoid answering by claiming offense via logical fallacy. This sentence is just I knew it would go over his head, and unless he knows exactly what a straw man is, in which case it won't go over his head. So it's just so good. Whenever you want to engage someone like this, be as specific as you can, and stay intelligent. Don't drop your grammar just for them. say things exactly how you mean them. I wrote in quotes, why is it prohibited, is called a, and I'm quotes again, a question. That's a question. You can't give a reason beyond I believe, and that's in quotes as well. So you avoid answering by claiming offense via logical fallacy. So then he says, and you did strawman me, XD. Shall I keep going? It gets worse, XD. With men accounted for 83% of primary and secondary syphilis cases where sex partners was known in the United States. I said there is no punishment in the Quran. Islamic Sharia is based off of both Quran and Hadith. So, you see how pedantic? No. What's the word I'm looking for? Dishonest. He says there is no punishment in the Quran. It's both the Quran and Hadith. Okay, so that means there is punishment in the Quran. He both says there is no punishment in the Quran, while also saying the punishment for fornication in the Quran is death. Oh, and the Hadith say you can't have homosexual sex. Oh, and the Quran says two men can't marry. Oh, but wait a minute, he actually hasn't answered that. So I don't know if the Quran actually says two men can't marry. I know that it says a man and a woman can marry. It doesn't say a man and a man can't marry. It doesn't say a woman and a woman can marry. It doesn't say they can't either. It just doesn't say anything about it. So he's just assuming that the Quran doesn't want same-sex marriage. Lovely. So I wrote down, and this is why I love the fact that he cited the study, because that means that I actually get to read something, and I got to read the whole study. Turns out, not a study. Nope. It's in the past, the CDC, well, more specifically government agencies, would put out pamphlets and documents, stuff like that, telling people, hey, STDs are bad, don't have sex with more than one person. The CDC did the exact same thing. They put out an article online. What's the article? I gotta grab that article. Give me a second. Wouldn't be fair to be reading all this stuff off if y'all don't know what article I'm talking about, referencing. It's by the cdc.gov. Oh my gosh, I hate this phone. It says www.cdc.gov/msmhealth/std.htm. I found the actual study that he was literally citing. If you read the study, it specifically says that any person who is engaging in condomless sex has a higher risk of STDs. And then I tried to explain to him, well, wait a minute, I forgot. I'm gonna read this for you. I wrote down, the CDC says it's on the rise and will match hetero rates. In other words, it's STD rates between gay people are lower than the straight people, because, well, it doesn't say why because, but I'm gonna say it's because you're a lot less likely to run into a gay person in the past because you weren't allowed to. You had to keep it quiet. But now that they're a lot more open, it's a lot easier for a gay person to find another gay person. So now there's choice. So because there's choice, that means that they can butt fuck more. And because the butt fucking rates have gone up, and these people were raised not knowing, oh, wait a minute, condoms reduce STD rates, they just don't practice safe sex. So this article is literally saying, hey, if you don't practice safe sex, you're going to get an STD. And from that, Atlas is taking it to mean, hey, you're more likely to get an STD if you're gay than if you're straight. This is what prejudice and bigotry does to the mind. It perverts statistics and facts. Anyways, I wrote down, the CDC says it's on the rise and will match hetero rates. Thanks. You cited, I was going to write dumbass. You cited a study showing it's lower than hetero. I was going to write that, but instead I erased the word dumbass, and I wrote, thanks. You cited a study showing it's lower than hetero. Did you even read how STDs are spread? Hetero spread them as easily as fags. I think I wrote fags or gays or something, I don't know. And then he wrote, "You took what I said out of context and misrepresented me. That's a straw man, buddy." As easily as what? I think he was asking as easily. Yeah, hetero spread them as easily as, and it bleeped out my word, which I wrote down gays, but I don't know why it bleeped out gays. PlayStation has the worst, what's it called? The worst censorship. It's horrible. Anyways, I wrote down, yep, that's because of condomless sex, not because of. I bleeped out those two words. Oh, I should have written that. I wrote down that it's that the reason that it's increasing is because of condomless sex, not because of being gay or something like that. Oh, not because of fucking. I don't know, fucking something. Oh, not because of fucking. Oh, not because of fucking an asshole. That's what I wrote. That's because of condomless sex, not because of fucking an asshole. Again, did you even read it, or are you going to keep cherry picking sentences? Scroll down to, quote unquote, how STDs are spread. And then he wrote, gay, bisexual, and other men who have sex with men are 17 more likely to get anal cancer than heterosexual men. And then he finds that very funny, so he wrote XDDDD. You're one to talk about cherry picking, XD. And then I wrote, condomless sex spreads STDs. Gays are less likely to use condom due to no risk of pregnancy. It doesn't matter if gay or straight. Safe sex reduces STD risk. The study is to encourage more condom use amongst men. Your bigotry against gays is skewing your interpretation of reality. And then he wrote, bigotry? I never said I hate or have prejudice against gays. Your argument is on... I don't know what it says. Homosexuals? Something. I don't know. It's bleeped out. Tell me, were there... Oh, your argument is on condoms? Tell me, were there condoms 14 centuries ago? Did they exist 10 centuries ago? 3 centuries? Safe sex was a concept made in 1980 because of global AIDS epidemic. He wrote pandemic and then corrected it to epidemic. Okay. And then I wrote down, look up history of condoms. You're making a fool of yourself. You are prejudiced against gays. You don't have to say the words, quote unquote, I'm prejudiced against gays, end quote, for you to be prejudiced, even though you already have, because he has already. Just own up to it. Be honest for once. And then I wrote LOL. Actually, I wrote LOLOL. You have a preconceived opinion against gays, not based in reason or actual experience. Literal definition of prejudice, and I put that in parentheses. So, a preconceived opinion against a group or an ideology not based in reason or actual experience, that's called a prejudice. That means that without you ever interacting with it, you already hate it. Or love it. One or the other. You could be prejudiced in favor of gays if you favor them unfairly. You could be prejudiced against gays if you discriminate against them unfairly. This person is discriminating against gays unfairly by saying that if you're gay, it's bad, but if you're straight, it's good. And then I ask him why. Because gays can't get married, so it's bad. And I say, okay, so what if gays got married? No, they can't. And that's where he leaves it at. That's prejudice. Gays can't get married? That's prejudice. Why not? Because I said so. What? No. Anyways, back to this. He says, I'll give it to my mistake. Oh, he's admitting a mistake. He's taking it back. He reviewed the history of condoms, mind you. So he says, I'll give it to my mistake. Rubber condoms were made in 1839. Animal intestine condoms were available back in the 1600s. XD. And then I wrote, way before then Atlas, try 1500s. And then he wrote, they were still made out of animals? XD. You just made it worse, XD. And then I wrote, nope, linen, Gabriel Falloppio. There was a guy called Gabriel Falloppio who used linen. And he made a pretty thick linen, apparently. A pretty good linen weave that stopped the semen from going forth, going past a condom. So as you um, it turns out that it reduced the risk of syphilis in 1,100 men or something like that. I forgot the. It's like 1,100 men or something like that. I don't know why they knew the exact number on Wikipedia, but whatever. It says that he tested on 1,100 men, and not one got syphilis. It's like, hey, look at that. Wear a condom, you don't get syphilis. Gay men aren't wearing condoms. If gay men wear condoms, syphilis rates go down. It's almost as if it has nothing to do with being gay. Oh! And then he wrote, also, I never implied prejudice against gays, XD. And then he only wrote a message that just says, XD. You're evading the point, XD. I've been laughing my ass off since yesterday, XD. And then I wrote, I agree, you're avoiding the point. And then I went back to the original point of this whole nonsense. I don't believe people should be executed for consensual sex. Do you think they should? And then he wrote, you're... and then this time he wrote, you apostrophe R-E. You are ad hominem. That's what that means, the apostrophe. You are ad hominem. So, your ad hominem and name calling is actually hilarious. So, this, I can't tell if he's doing it on purpose or not. Is he intentionally miswriting your? Because he says Y-O-U-R when he should be saying Y-O-U-R-E, and now the time when he can actually write Y-O-U-R, the dipshit writes Y-O-U-R-E. This person, he has to be a robot. Like, I am convinced this is not a real human being, that this is just a bot put in by the Russians to fuck with Americans. That's what this is. This is just a distraction. It has to be. No one can be this stupid. He keeps going. No, of course not. I don't think a husband and wife should be executed for consensual sex. No. This is called a straw man. I didn't write anything about a husband and a wife. See how specific he was? This is an actual straw man. Thank you so much for giving me an example of a straw man. So I wrote down, I don't believe people should be executed for consensual sex. Do you think they should? People executed for consensual sex. He knows exactly what I mean, and he instead changes it to say, no, of course not. I don't think a husband and wife should be executed for consensual sex. No. Is that what you're saying? Because you have to be more specific. I have answered you on everything you asked. You've now just resorted to ad hominem and name-calling. This discussion has been going on for days, and at this point, it's just ad nauseum. All you're doing is just repeating questions I've already answered, even some yourself. This is where it's come to. I wrote down the words, I don't believe people should be executed for consensual sex. So I'm just going to... He's left it at that, so I'm going to write back. Let's see. So I'm going to write back, I agree. And I'm going to use the proper conjugation of your, by the way. I agree. You're avoiding the question using straw man. So now I'm going to write down. So I'm writing down, why can't homosexuals marry each other? And in parentheses, your prejudice won't let you answer. Okay, and the last part is and this is why you have to be as specific as possible. I made the mistake of not writing down the sentence that I just wrote down, and I'll read it out. Just give me a second. Mm-mm-mm. I wrote down, I agree. You're avoiding a question using straw man. Why can't homosexuals marry one another? You're prejudiced, so you won't answer. And then the other thing says, I don't believe people should be executed for consensual anal sex. Do you think they should? So, now I'm gonna go ahead and, oh man, this is just insane. Oh, he wrote more. I've answered you on everything you asked. You've now just resorted to ad hominem and name calling. This discussion has been going on for. Oh yeah, all you're doing is just repeating questions I've already answered, even some yourself. Like he thinks he's answered them, but it's like you haven't told me why. You just keep saying it isn't. It's like it's identical to asking a person. Um, a person tells you you can't drink that glass of water, and then you tell them well, why not, and then they say I already told you why you can't. Don't drink the glass of water. Like what? No, well, why can't I? Why is it bad for me to drink that water? Oh, so now you're just gonna go against me? That's what you're doing? You're just gonna attack me like this and call me names? Like, no, I think you're stupid, but it has nothing to do with whether or not I should drink that water. Why shouldn't I drink that water? See, you're just gonna keep asking the same question, and you're never gonna learn the answer because you're too thick-headed to think. You can't drink the water. I already told you why not. That's the level of argument that I'm having to face right now. So how do you convince someone that's this layers of stupid that it's okay for you to drink the water that you poured in a glass yourself? What's a I don't understand. horrid. Now, how do I end the stream? I can go play some Tomb Raider. Oh, there it is. Okay.